Hi, my name is Liselli, and the professional resource that I chose is the Hornbook Magazine. The Hornbook Magazine was founded in 1924 in Boston by Bertha Mahoney Miller. The purpose was for it to serve as a guide to parents to find quality children's literature. Actually, the first issue was simply a list of books that were suggested to be purchased by parents. Now it includes articles and more in-depth reviews, so it's a much more comprehensive resource for all things children's and young adult literature. Although its intended audience was parents at first, it has now grown to include educators, book publishers, librarians, authors, essentially everyone who has an interest in children or young adult literature. And this is a bi-monthly publication, so there are 6 issues per year. You can get a yearly subscription by going online to hbook.com. You can get either print or digital formats. As an individual, you can get the 6 issues for $49. And institutions have an option to purchase access to an online platform that gives them unlimited access to the digital issue. So if multiple staff members want to see the periodical, they have that ability. The Hornbook Magazine follows a similar format for each one of its issues. Upon opening the magazine, you get the table of contents, and it's separated into categories. So you have got the editorial first, then the features, reviews, columns, and lastly a little appendix of sorts. The editor-in-chief is Roger Sutton, and he usually writes about the featured author or criticizes some book or author. In the feature section, there is an article written by or about the featured author, and the front cover of the publication is actually an illustration from one of that featured author's books. So there's this one. This one. This is actually one of my favorite parts of this magazine, is all the front covers. They're so colorful. Unfortunately, the inside of the magazine is all in black and white. And in between the articles and the reviews are advertisements from book publishers or from associations that are advertising their conventions or their conferences. Also in the features section, you will find a variety of articles. If there were awards that were given out, some of the articles are the award acceptance speeches from the various authors. Sometimes there are articles by authors about other authors. There was an interview by a book publisher editor, and I liked reading that one because it was interesting, gave you just a different view or perspective from having to do with children's or young adult literature. The next section is the reviews. The Hornbook Magazine itself has over 50 reviews from 5 different categories. They are picture books, fiction, folklore, poetry, and nonfiction. And in each one of the reviews, you'll find that it's in this format. So you'll see the author's name, and there will also be an illustrator's name if it's a picture book. Then you'll find the title of the book, the page numbers, the number of pages, the publisher, the month and year of that it was published, the ISBN, the retail price, and a suggested grade reading level. Then follows the annotation. And if it's a picture book, sometimes they put a little illustration from the picture book. In the review section, you'll also find that there are articles about reprints or reissues. Then follows the columns section, and the column sometimes has reoccurring columns. For instance, there's field notes, and field notes are articles from a variety of people in different fields that have something to do with children's or young adult literature, such as there was an article by a second grade teacher who wrote about her introduction to children's literature and how she brought it into her classroom. There was also an article by a book firm owner who specializes in rare and collectible children's books. There is also another reoccurring article called A Second Look, in which the writer of the article chooses a book by a particular author and then writes about it, kind of analyzes it, talks about when it came out. So it's kind of like a second look at it. And one of the other reoccurring articles is A View from the Island, which is written by Brian Alderson. He is an author / translator / critic of children's books, and his articles usually have to do with something having to do with the UK. So, for instance, in this issue, he wrote about Maurice Sendak and when he was in England and his influence while he was there as well. The last section is the appendix, which has something called the Hunt Breakfast. And this has a variety of information. For instance, it has awards. It's got upcoming conferences. It also has obituaries, any information about the Hornbook selling anything, and actually also has classified ads. Then follows the index to advertisers and the index of book reviews, or index to book reviews. What I really like is in the last issue of the year, you will also find in the appendix a index to all of the issues. And that's what this looks like. So, if there is an article about a particular author that you know you saw in one of the issues, you can go to the 6th issue, the last issue of the year, and you can find out where it is. Something really interesting about this publication is that for each one of the issues, the pages are consecutive. So in July and August, the page numbers start at 387 and go to 512, and then September, October goes from 515 to 656, and so on and so forth, so that when you get to the last issue of the year and you're going through the index, you can find the exact page number, because each one of the issues has its own unique range of page numbers. I just find that really cool. This is a great resource. I had a great time reading these. I didn't know anything about children's literature before this. So some of the strengths are that this is a publication that's been going on for almost 100 years. So that says a lot about it. And it is the oldest and most well-known publication regarding children's literature in the U.S. It has articles from a variety of people in a variety of industries and backgrounds, so it gives you a really good perspective gives you a lot of different perspectives of children's literature and young adult literature. And one of the weaknesses was that being someone who doesn't know much about children's literature, there was a lot of name dropping, and I was a little lost at the beginning. But the more issues I went through, the names started to look more familiar to me, and I was a little more familiar with it, so I wasn't as lost. But I assume that if you're going to read this, you have some sort of interest in children's literature, so maybe that was just me. The other thing I really liked is that index at the end. And if you want to purchase this, just a single issue, they actually do have retailers all over. The closest for us here in California, SoCal, would be a Barnes & Noble in Chino Hills. Not too far, but it's nice to know that if you really wanted to, you can go and get the latest print issue. Yeah, I think this is a great resource, and if you're interested in children's literature, I would definitely recommend you check out one of the issues. And I got these from our library. They're not the most recent, but I still liked going through them because I liked the pictures at the front. And the articles weren't that bad either. Alright, well, thank you for watching. Have a good one.